Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Yamuna Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yashoda Nandana Braja Jana Ranjana 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 Tira Vanachari Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Om Vishnu Pad Paramahamsa Parvrat Parivrajikacharya Astota Sarashi Srimad A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada ki, ISKCON founder Acharya Srila Prabhupada ki, Jai Om Vishnupad Paramahamsa Parivrajikacharya Astota Sarashi Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki, Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki, ISKCON Guru Vrinda ki, Ananta Koti Vaishnav Vrinda ki, Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda, Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki, Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopinath Shamakund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan ki, Shri Navadvip Mayapur Dham ki, Shri Mathura Vrindavan Dham ki, Shri Jagannath Puri Dham ki, Ganga Maya ki, Yamuna Maya ki, Bhakti Devi ki, Tulasi Devi ki, Shri Harinam Sankirtan ki, Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda ki, Gaur Premanande. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to Shri Guru and Shri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Hare Krishna. Thank you so much for joining us this morning for our Krishna book reading. Today we've got a very exciting chapter, chapter 61, called The Genealogy of the Family of Krishna. So the amazing part is that we are all a part of this genealogy of Krishna's lineage. So we'll begin by first begging for your blessings so that I can say something that is in line with Srila Prabhupada and the Parampara. And let us offer our respects to our gurus. Om Jnana Timirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Stabhitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Tadati Swapadantikam. He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostude Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sutadevi Pranamani Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So, thank you, Hare Krishna. So today's chapter is broken into 3 parts. So the first part we'll read about Krishna's his direct family that he's had with the queens of Dwarka. The second part will be the extreme hatred, I would say, or extreme feelings from Rukmi, which is Rukmini's brother, towards Krishna. And then part 3 covers the slaying of Rukmi by Lord Balaram. So we'll read the chapter and we'll make comments as we go along. So, okay, chapter 61. Krishna had 16,108 wives, and in each of them he begot 10 sons, and all of them equal to their father in the opulence of strength, beauty, wisdom, fame, wealth, and renunciation. Like father, like son. All the 16,108 wives of Krishna were princesses, and when each saw that Krishna was always present in her respective palace and did not leave home, she considered Krishna a hen-pecked husband who was very attached to her. So I just had to Google what hen-pecked means, and it means continually given orders by one's wife. So for those who know that feeling, that is what Krishna was like to his wives. Every one of them thought that Krishna was her very obedient husband, but actually Krishna had no attraction for any of them. Although each thought that she was the only wife of Krishna and was very, very dear to him, Lord Krishna, being Atmaram, self-sufficient, felt neither attraction nor enmity toward any one of them. He was equal to all the wives and treated them as a perfect husband would, just to please them. For him, there was no need of a single wife. In fact, since they were women, the wives could not understand the exalted position of Krishna, nor the truths about him. All the princesses who were wives of Krishna were exquisitely beautiful, and each one of them was attracted by Krishna's eyes, which were just like lotus petals, and by his beautiful face, long arms, beautiful ears, pleasing smile, humorous talk, and sweet words. Influenced by these features of Krishna, they all used to dress themselves very attractively, desiring to attract him by their feminine bodily appeal. They exhibited their feminine characteristics by smiling and moving their eyebrows, thus shooting sharp arrows of conjugal love just to awaken Krishna's lustiest desire for them. Still, they could not arouse Krishna's mind or his sexual appetite. This means that Krishna never had any sexual relations with any of his many wives, save and except to beget children. The queens of Dwaraka were so fortunate that they got Lord Krishna as their husband and personal companion. Although he is not approachable by exalted demigods like Brahma, Lord Krishna and his queens remained together as husband and wife, and Krishna, as an ideal husband, treated them in such a way that at every moment there was an increase of transcendental bliss in their smiling exchanges, talking and mixing together. Each and every wife had hundreds and thousands of maidservants. Yet, when Krishna entered the palaces of his thousands of wives, each of them used to receive Krishna personally by seating him in a nice chair, worshipping him, all requisite paraphernalia, personally washing his lotus feet, offering him betel nuts, massaging his legs to relieve them of fatigue, fanning him to make him comfortable, offering all kinds of scented sandalwood pulp, oils, and aromatics, putting flower garlands on his neck, dressing his hair, getting him to lie down on the bed, and assisting him to take his bath. Thus, they served Krishna always in every respect, especially when Krishna was eating. They always engaged in the service of the Lord. So before we go to the next part, I just wanted to make a note here that, it's very much unfathomable how Krishna expanded himself to be in 16,108 palaces and being treated the very same, and for each wife to feel that special connection. And I just wanted to pick on the third verse of Damodar Astakam, where it says, "By such childhood pastimes as this, he is drowning in the inhabitants of Gokula in the pools of ecstasy, and is revealing to those devotees who are absorbed in knowledge of his supreme majesty and opulence that he is only conquered by devotees whose pure love is imbued with intimacy and is freed from all conceptions of awe and reverence. With great love, I again offer my obeisances to Lord Damodar hundreds and thousands of times." So why I picked on this verse of Damodar Astakam, when we are offering our lamps to Lord Krishna every evening or every morning, whenever it is, it's a very personal connection. And like how he's allowing the wives of the queens of Dwaraka to worship him so personally, but in such an expansive way, similarly we are offering our lamps in that way. I can't imagine how many thousands, millions of lamps are being offered during this month of Kartik. So it's a very personal connection that this process of Krishna consciousness allows us to be a part of. So to continue, and for those who know these different personalities, I'm sure you'll follow along, but it does take a while to really gather Krishna's lineage. So just bear with us while we read these wonderful names of Krishna's lineage. Each of Krishna's 16,108 queens had 10 sons. The sons of the first 8 queens are listed as follows: By Rukmini, Krishna had the following 10 sons: Pradyumna, Charudeshna, Sudeshna, Charudeha, Sucharu, Charugupta, Bhadracharu, Charuchandra, Vicharu, and Charu. None of them were inferior in their qualities to their divine father, Lord Krishna. The names of Satyabhama's 10 sons are as follows: Bhanu, Subhanu, Svabhanu, Prabhanu, Bhanuman, Chandrabhanu, Brihadbhanu, Atibhanu, Shribhanu, and Pratibhanu. The 10 sons of the next queen, Jambavati, were headed by Samba. Their names are as follows: Samba, Sumitra, Purujit, Satajit, Sahasrajit, Vijaya, Chitraketu, Vasuman, Dravida, and Kratu. Lord Krishna was specifically very affectionate to the sons of Jambavati. The 10 sons of Lord Krishna had by his wife Satya, the daughter of King Nagnajit, were as follows: Veera, Chandra, Asvasena, Chitragu, Vegyavan, Vrisha, Ama, Sanku, Vasu, and Kunti. Amongst all of them, Kunti was very powerful. Krishna's 10 sons, so that Kunti should not be confused with Mother Kunti. This is Krishna's daughter. And then Krishna's 10 sons by Kalindi were as follows: Shuta, Kavi, Vrisha, Veera, Subahu, Bhadra, Santi, Darsha, Purnamasa, and Somaka, the younger son. The 10 sons Lord Krishna begot with his next wife Lakshmana, the daughter of the king of Madras province, were named Pragosha, Gatravan, Simha, Bala, Prabala, Udraga, Mahasakti, Saha, Oja, Aparajit. The 10 sons of his next wife Mitravinda were as follows: Vriksha, Harsha, Anila, Gridra, Vardhana, Unanda, Mahamasya, Pavana, Vani, and Shuddhi. The 10 sons of his next wife Bhadra were named Sangramajit, Brihatsena, Sura, Prahana, Arajit, Jaya, Subhadra, Vama, Ayur, and Satyaka. Besides these 8 chief queens, Krishna had 16,100 other wives, and all of them had 10 sons each. So just by this thought, it's very expansive. And later on, we'll also read that Krishna's lineage actually equated to 1 billion, individuals. Yeah. And if we look at the world currently, there's 8 billion occupying the current world that we live in. So we can really understand the extent to which Krishna's lineage was built. And then the eldest son of Rukmini, Pradyumna, was married with Mayavati from his very birth, and afterwards he married Rukmavati, the daughter of his maternal uncle Rukmi. From Rukmavati, Pradyumna also had a son named Aniruddha. In this way, Krishna's family, Krishna and his wives, along with their sons and grandsons, and even great-grandsons, all combined together to include very nearly 1 billion family members. So, just a note, for those who have been to Vrindavan, or specifically like Mathura and a few other specific temples, I know the tour guide or the senior devotees that we went with always mention the name Vajranabha. And he is actually, so this specific individual is the son of Aniruddha, which is the son of Pradyumna. So that is Krishna's great Krishna's great-grandson, and he was the one who installed many of the predominant temples in Vrindavan. So Radhanath Maharaj mentioned the Gopinath deity, and for those who've been to Nandagram, the Krishna Balaram deities with Madhya Yashoda and King Nanda. That temple was inaugurated by Vajranabha. So you can see it's this Krishna consciousness is not a whimsical, type of movement. It's very rooted in thousands and thousands of years of legacy, if we could put it that way. So you can see the direct link here, and I felt that was very exciting because for those who've been there, you can feel this connection to Krishna. Then to continue, Rukmi, the elder brother of Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, was greatly harassed and insulted in his first fight with Krishna. So this we spoke about in chapter 54. But on the request of Rukmini, his life was spared. Since then, Rukmini held a great grudge against Krishna and was always inimical toward him. Nevertheless, his daughter married Krishna's son, and his granddaughter married Krishna's grandson, Aniruddha. So the fact appeared a little astonishing to Maharaj Parikshit when he heard it from Shukadev Goswami, and the king addressed him as follows. I am surprised that Rukmi and Krishna, who were so greatly inimical to one another, could again be united by marital relationships between their descendants. Parikshit Maharaj was curious about the mystery of this incident, and therefore he inquired from Shukadev Goswami. Because Shukadev Goswami was a perfect yogi, nothing was hidden from his power of insight. A perfect yogi like Shukadev Goswami can see past, present and future in all details. Therefore, from such yogis or mystics, nothing can be concealed. When Maharaj Parikshit inquired from Shukadev Goswami, Shukadev Goswami answered as follows. So before we go to the next response, just to give you some background, Rukmini had the strong desire to marry Lord Krishna, and Rukmi, her brother, had other desires. He had some of very powerful princes that he wanted to marry Rukmini to. So Krishna ended up kidnapping Rukmini and defamed Rukmi. So in that chapter, Krishna he cut his mustache and he looked very defamed, and he basically fell from his prestige. And so this intense feeling towards Krishna is there from Rukmi. But to see how he allowed his granddaughter or great-granddaughter to marry Krishna's Shri Radha Radhanath ki jai, Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ki jai, Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. So this point of Rukmi allowing Krishna's grandchildren to marry his lineage is a very interesting one, and Parikshit Maharaj is very confused by this situation because of what happened in the previous chapters. So to continue, Pradyumna, the eldest son of Krishna, born of Rukmini, was Cupid himself. He was so beautiful and attractive that the daughter of Rukmi, namely Rukmavati, could not select any husband other than Pradyumna during her Swayamvara. Therefore, in that selection meeting, she garlanded Pradyumna in the presence of all other princes, and there was a fight among the princes. Pradyumna came out victorious, and therefore Rukmi was obliged to offer his beautiful daughter to Pradyumna. Although enmity was always blazed in Rukmi's heart because of his having been insulted by Krishna's kidnapping of his sister Rukmini. Rukmi could not resist consenting to the marriage ceremony just to please Rukmini. When his daughter selected Pradyumna as her husband, and so Pradyumna became the son-in-law as well as the nephew of Rukmi. Besides the 10 sons described above, Rukmini had one beautiful daughter with big eyes, and she was married to Kritavarma's son, who was named Bali. So before we go to the second part of this chapter, I just wanted to bring in the lesson that we're getting from this first part. And in my understanding, and I'm sure it can be elaborated by many of the seniors here, but to see the lineage of Krishna also reminds us of the parampara that we're coming from. And I just wanted to pull up the first, so the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, where, I'm just pulling it up quickly. So at the end of the introduction of Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada lists 32 individuals under this disciplic succession. And number 1 is Krishna, and then it goes to Brahma, Narada, Vyasa. But coming down to around 28, and we see on the altar, we have Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Gaur Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati, and Srila Prabhupada. So for me, this part of the chapter, really solidifies the connection that we have to Krishna through the parampara. And for those who have been initiated, you'll see in the fire yagya, the different mantras are being chanted of the different, the different parampara, the disciplic succession. So it really connects us to this lineage of Krishna. And, we may have our own families in our material world, our own parents or siblings, but really we are all connected in Krishna's family. And I think that's the most beautiful part of Krishna consciousness. And then Srila Prabhupada expands in a lecture he had in Bhagavad Gita. This was in London, 1973. He says, to become Krishna consciousness means Achyuta Gotra. So we have to become Achyuta Gotra, again belonging to the family of Krishna. So for those who are of Indian descent, you would have done, or at some point have done, like a backtrack of, of how you came to South Africa, your lineage of whoever came on a ship, whatever. And I remember doing this for my auntie, and it always asks for your gotra. So your gotra is like the type of family you belong to. And I think my granny's great-grandfather or something was a sweet meat maker, mithai, something. So it's really, these things existed very predominantly, back in the day. But this term, Achyuta Gotra, means infallible. So we are a part of Krishna's infallible family. So this Gotra, this family lineage. And Srila Prabhupada also says in the purport of 4th canto, chapter 21, verse 12, different gotras or family designations are distinctions in terms of the material body. But when one comes to Krishna consciousness, he immediately becomes one of the Achyuta Gotra, or descendants of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and thus becomes transcendental to all considerations of caste, creed, color, and nationality. So I think that's a really beautiful point, that this is not a movement for specific, race or culture. This, like Bhakti Tirtha Maharaj said, this Krishna consciousness is the United Nations of the spiritual world. So that is the lesson that I would like to take from the first part of this chapter. So the second part, we go into the extreme negative feelings. I don't want to use the word hatred, but it is to that extent, or envy, if you could put it that way, of Rukmi. Although Rukmi was a veritable enemy of Krishna, he had great affection for his sister Rukmini and wanted to please her in all respects. On this account, when Rukmini's grandson Aniruddha was to be married, Rukmi offered his granddaughter Rochana to Aniruddha. Such a marriage between immediate cousins is not very much sanctioned by the Vedic culture, but in order to please Rukmini, Rukmi offered his daughter and granddaughter to the son and grandson of Krishna, respectively. In this way, when the negotiation of the marriage of Aniruddha with Rochana was complete, a big marriage party accompanied Aniruddha and started from Dwarka. They traveled until they reached Bojakata, which Rukmi had colonized after his sister had been kidnapped by Krishna. So I just want to comment this Bojakata was mentioned in very much detail in chapter 54. So this Bojakata is basically, so Rukmi, he made a vow that if he was conquered by Krishna, he would remain in this place of Bojakata, and it's known as the place where Rukmi experienced misery as a result of his vow. So I just wanted to pick on that. So this marriage party was led by the grandfather, namely Lord Krishna, accompanied by Lord Balaram. And it is included in Krishna's first wife, Rukmini, his son Pradyumna, Jambavati's son, and Jambavati's son Samba, and many other relatives and family members. They reached the town of Bojakata, and the marriage ceremony was peacefully performed. So I just wanted to touch on my second part of the lesson that I wanted to extract from this specific part. So here we see one who has extreme hatred towards God, or to a certain degree like the atheists. So in the purport of the 10th canto, 61 chapter, verse 25, Srila Prabhupada's disciples mention that one should not eat an enemy's food or feed an enemy. But here we are seeing the enemy's families being married to, so it's a very interesting point. And here, further in the purport, it says that it should be pointed out here that Lord Krishna is not really the enemy of anyone. Although Lord Krishna is everyone's friend, Rukmi could not appreciate this fact and considered Lord Krishna his enemy. Still, out of affection of his sister, he gave his granddaughter to Aniruddha. And then further in the purport it said, finally, we should note that contrary to the prohibition quoted above, one may not give up the basic principles of spiritual life merely because such principles are unpopular with people in general. So here I would take it as if someone's your enemy, you can see, look, Krishna is not, sorry, what's the specific word? He is really not the enemy of anyone. So, when they say don't stoop down to the other person's level, So here you can see by Krishna's, his, what's the word? Direction or behavior, that Krishna was not, coming down to this level of, I am the enemy of Rukmi. So you can see him transcending that, those qualities that very much exist within this material world. And the point here is that one should not give up the basic principles of spiritual life merely because principles are unpopular with people in general. And I just wanted to touch on something very personal here. Recently I've had a bit of a transition in my job where, you have to associate with people that are not so Krishna conscious. And sometimes, and especially when you would, a little more of, in a company you have like the upper management, you kind of like look up to them because they are the bosses essentially. But when you're around them, Krishna consciousness feels very foreign, extremely foreign. And you actually start to question yourself, like, is this really, what people are, or what am I supposed to do? So here, reading this yesterday actually like solidified my my belief in Krishna consciousness, because as much as on the material spectrum, growth is always important, and to have that prestige and honor, it is important, but to be Krishna consciousness surpasses that on every level. And I think what we've been given by Srila Prabhupada, no amount of money can replace the experiences and also our transcendental destination, So, and the last part of this purport, it said that one should surrender to the Supreme Lord, and that duty takes precedence over all secondary injunctions. Moreover, in this age of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, has kindly presented a sublime process that will attract all sincere people to come to the point of surrendering to the Lord. By following Lord Chaitanya's blissful process of chanting, dancing, feasting, and discussing spiritual philosophy, anyone can easily go back home, back to Godhead, for an eternal life of bliss and knowledge. So, if we really follow this process wholeheartedly with faith and conviction, we can achieve, going back home, back to Godhead. So I just wanted to make that point on our part 2. So on our part 3, so here this is where Balaram slays Rukmi. So fasten your seatbelt. The king of Kalinga was a friend of Rukmi's and gave him the ill advice to play chess with Balaram, and thus defeated him in a bet. Among Kshatriya kings, gambling on chess was not uncommon. If someone challenged a Kshatriya to play on the chessboard, the Kshatriya could not refuse the challenge. Sri Balaramji was not a very expert chess player, and this was known to the king of Kalinga. So Rukmi was advised to retaliate against the family members of Krishna by challenging Balaram to play chess. Although not an expert chess player, Sri Balaramji was very enthusiastic in sporting activities. He accepted Rukmi's challenge and sat down to play. Betting was with gold coins, and Balaram first of all challenged with 100 coins, and then 1,000 coins, then 10,000 coins. Each time Balaram lost and Rukmi was victorious. Sri Balaram's losing the game was an opportunity for the king of Kalinga to criticize Krishna and Balaram. Thus, the king of Kalinga was talking jokingly while purposefully showing his teeth to Balaram. Because Balaram was the loser in the game, he was a little intolerant of the sarcastic joking words and became somewhat agitated. Rukmi again challenged Balaram and made a bet of 100,000 gold coins. But fortunately, this time Balaram won. Nonetheless, out of cunningness, Rukmi claimed that Balaram was the loser and that he himself had won. Because of this lie, Balaramji became most angry with Rukmi. His agitation was so sudden and great that it appeared like a tidal wave in the ocean on a full moon day. Balaram's eyes are naturally reddish, and when he becomes agitated and angry, his eyes become more reddish. This time, he challenged and made a bet of 100 million coins. Again, Balaram was the winner according to the rules of chess, but Rukmi again cunningly claimed that he had won. Rukmi appealed to the princes present, and he especially mentioned the name of King Kalinga. During the dispute, there was a voice from the sky, and it had announced that for all honest purposes, Balaram was the actual winner of this game, that he was being abused, and that the statement of Rukmi he had won was absolutely false. In spite of this divine voice, Rukmi insisted that Balaram had lost, and by his persistence it appeared that he had death upon his upon his head. Falsely puffed up by the ill advice of his friend, he did not give much importance to the oracle, and he began to criticize Balaramji. He said, "My dear Balaramji, you two brothers, cowherd boys only, may be very expert in tending cows, but how can you be expert in playing chess or shooting arrows on the battlefield? These arts are well known to only the princely order." Hearing this kind of pinching talk by Rukmi, and hearing the loud laughter of all the princes present there, Lord Balaram became as agitated as burning cinders. He immediately took his club in his hand and, without further talk, struck Rukmi on the head. From that one blow, Rukmi fell down immediately and was dead and gone. Thus, Rukmi was killed by Balaram on that auspicious occasion of Aniruddha's marriage. These things are not very uncommon in Kshatriya society. The king of Kalinga, afraid that he would be the next one attacked, fled from the scene. Before he could escape even a few steps, however, Balaramji immediately captured him, and because the king had always shown his teeth while criticizing Balaram and Krishna, Balaram broke all the king's teeth with his club. The other princes, supporting the king of Kalinga and Rukmini, were also captured, and Balaram beat them with his club, breaking their legs and hands. They did not try to retaliate, but thought it wise to run away from the bloody scene. During the strife between Balaram and Rukmi, Lord Krishna did not utter a word, for he knew that if he supported Balaram, Rukmini would be unhappy, and if he said that the killing of Rukmi was unjust, then Balaram would be unhappy. Therefore, Lord Krishna was silent on the death of his brother-in-law Rukmi, on the occasion of his grandson's marriage. He did not disturb his affectionate relationship with either Balaram or Rukmini. After this, the bride and bridegroom were ceremoniously seated on the chariot, and they started for Dwarka, accompanied by the bridegroom's party. The bridegroom's party was always protected by Lord Krishna, the killer of the Madhu demon. Thus, they left Rukmi's kingdom, Bojakata, and happily started for Dwarka. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 61st chapter of Krishna, the genealogy of the family of Krishna. So you can see there was the last part was very much action-packed, and here we also see Krishna's wonderful example as a grihastha, wanting to please his wife as well as keeping the peace with his brother. But the lesson that I wanted to take from this third part was honesty. And in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 18:42, the qualities of a brahmana are quoted. And as practicing devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement, this is something that we should all aim towards. We may not have it all, but it's something that we should always strive towards in our practice of Krishna consciousness. So the verse says, peacefulness, self-control, austerity, purity, tolerance, honesty, knowledge, wisdom, and religiousness. These are the natural qualities by which the brahmanas work. And Srila Prabhupada in the Perfect Question, Perfect Answers, chapter 7, says, real honesty is that you should not encroach upon another's property. This is honesty. For instance, this is my table. If you want to take it away, is that honesty? Therefore, the simple definition of honesty is that you should not encroach upon another's right. So, from the lesson that we get here is that we should always be truthful in our dealings, not only with devotees but with everyone that we meet. And the lesson here is we also cannot cheat God. So here Rukmi, as much as he wanted to become the victorious one in this chess game, and knowing that Balaram and Krishna and Balaram are cowherd men, like they don't have any expertise in playing chess. So Rukmi thought that he could somehow become the winner when Balaram had been. So the greatest lesson is no one can cheat the Lord. So even in our practice of Krishna consciousness, we have to be very truthful to ourselves and the level at which we are practicing, and pray to Krishna for his mercy to help us progress. And it being the Kartik month, I also just wanted to end on the two principles of endeavor and mercy. So as much as we can endeavor very hard to progress in Krishna consciousness, we also need to pray for Krishna's mercy. So I just would like to end here. Are there any corrections, comments? Jai Prabhu, any of the senior devotees want to say anything further? Thank you. Hare Krishna. Okay. Thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I think we can end here. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai.